Welcome back to Myth, Legends, and Truth, and today we have a special show for you guys, and we're going to be discussing voodoo, which just by saying that I get a little, scared. Anyway, most of the questions that people ask themselves when they hear about voodoo is it a religion? Is it good? It's bad? And most importantly, is it still around? So today I'm joined by my wife, beautiful wife, Ari. And she's a master when it comes to all this kind of scary stuff and all that. She just loves those things. So, Ari, what do you know about voodoo?
Hi. So, basically, what I wouldn't call myself a master in this, but from what I understand, voodoo is an African Caribbean religion with its reputation for using spells and curses, and it's. What was surprising to me really was that it's a mixture of African beliefs and Roman Catholic Christianity that I really didn't expect. And people began practicing it around the days of slavery.
Yeah, so voodoo is known for people using spells and curses, but this actually came as a shock for me that zombies, there's known also for zombies, which for me that was a little shock, but because I always look at voodoo as little dolls that you make out of somebody's hair, somebody's personal belongings, and you just start, breaking their bones or whatever to make them feel pain. But zombies caught me by surprise.
Well, that kind of goes hand in hand, basically. But we'll definitely get into that. So for starters, let's break down. I think, like you said, when you think about voodoo or just mentioning voodoo, you got a little scared. So,
sure did.
Why is that?
Well, it's one of those things that every time I see, a movie that has to do with spells or anything, or wizards and witchcraft and all that, you think of voodoo and a bad spell, and then you're gonna go and you're gonna be cursed for the rest of your life, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's the basis of a lot of scary movies, but there is a good side to voodoo as well. It's not all bad. So
and what is that called?
So the healing and helpful voodoo magic is also known as magic of the right hand, whereas the black or evil voodoo is known as magic of the left hand.
So it's safe to say that everybody that's left-handed is evil?
I would not say that. No,
okay.
But usually people stick to one kind. I think you have a select few that dabble in both.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little scary. So, I've heard a lot about voodoo, and in the Caribbean, you hear a lot about it simply because you tend to see all these females doing a voodoo just to capture the men of their dreams. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh yeah, the spells of love.
Is that voodoo?
And you'll see. Well, throughout the Caribbean, there's also a variation of voodoo. There's different ones for sure. You have, your voodoo, you have your hoodoo, you have, in like Puerto Rico or
Haiti.
Well, yeah, you also have Santeria.
Santeria, that's right.
But yeah, voodoo is commonly practiced in Haiti still to this day, and Louisiana and New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary thing. And also, as I stated early on, the whole zombie thing, which for me is crazy that, I never even thought about that. But one very famous part of voodoo, black magic, is the use of zombies. These are dead people who are under the spell that makes them walk around, under a spell. They have no feelings or anything. They're just following a command, basically. And that's insane.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
It is.
That they could bring someone back to life, or have them, commit their doings, manipulate them in such a way. But moving forward from the zombies to the voodoo dolls, like you said, you see them a lot in the movies, but surprisingly, it's not only used for bad things, for negativity, for hurting people.
So they do have a positive side, which they supposed to help people.
So they also have, you can also use the voodoo dolls, for others, for yourself, to bring you good fortune, things like that. But I think it's just more commonly used used though to make other people suffer.
Right. Yeah.
For the curses.
I never really heard about the fact that you can make your own little voodoo doll and use it for yourself to help you improve your life. I've never heard of that, but I'm willing to try that. I don't know about you, but I'm willing to try that.
Now, for a lot of people, one name that's very common in the voodoo religion, the voodoo practice, is Marie Laveau. Now, that in its own is very interesting history, and I think we should do a whole segment just on Marie Laveau.
Cool.
She was a famous voodoo magician, and I mean, it's just, her story is just crazy.
I've heard about it briefly, but we don't want to get into that.
Yeah. Well, so what I'll leave you with is that, Marie Laveau was from New Orleans, and you can actually visit her home to this day.
And what I'll leave you when it comes to that is that we'll be doing a video or either a podcast on, what's her name again?
Marie Laveau.
We definitely will. Now, do you know any stories or anything when it comes to voodoo? I do know that I have one that I'm going to share with from my grandfather that passed on to my mom or my aunt, one of my aunts. But do you have any before I get to mine? No? So I don't know if this is considered voodoo, but I just want to share this. Back in the days, my family, they're from, from the mountains, right? And they never got a lot of rain up there. Every time that they needed to rain, they would kind of, pray. I don't know if that's voodoo, but they would pray for the rain. But in this particular case, they were having like a disease or something. My aunt tells me, I think it was my aunt that was telling me they were having a disease. And at that time, they were going through the whole thing where there was a lot of evil happening just because there was a lot of people trying to take over the land that they had. Taking over they had a coffee land, and they would, outsiders were trying to buy the land just to, make some houses and stuff like that. And
so before you keep moving with that, just to give them a little background insight, where's your family from?
So my family's from the Dominican Republic.
Right, which is the neighbor to Haiti.
Which is the neighbor of Haiti.
A big section where they practice voodoo.
Yes, and this section, it's I don't know how far it is from Haiti, this town.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it bleeds into that, or, like we had mentioned before, that other practices, other religions kind of stem from that and are influenced from that as well. So we'll keep going.
So my aunt tells me that they were being taken over not by force or by weapon or anything like that, but by money. It was one of those things that they were paying everybody that owned land there a big amount of money just to move out. And if they didn't want to move out, then they just started cutting all the trees and surrounding. And when you're from the mountains, you depend so much on the land in order to eat and water and whatever the case is. So I'm told that the village came together and I don't know if they put a spell or I don't know what they did, but they ended up praying or kind of doing some voodoo where that if any outsiders went into their town with malice, with any kind of bad intention to take away their land, they would automatically start getting all these hives and everything in their face and their body, and they would know who was who just because they couldn't stop itching and they were throwing up. They start throwing up and all these things, and that's kind of how they knew who was the one that wanted them to progress the land or wanted to take over the land and sell it to someone else. Long story short, about 28 people died that were because they would get massive diarrhea and they couldn't keep anything in their stomach. So these people that wanted to take over the land apparently just gave up and moved around and went someplace else, and they bought the land from other parts of the town, but they left that section alone. Until this day, they still own it. I don't know if it was some kind of voodoo or anything like that, but it's a cool story that I've always kind of asked myself, why is it that this land survived and the rest of them didn't? And
the word probably got around that it was cursed, or
Yeah, at that time they were trying to build the big. What is that thing that they built in Puerto Rico? That big, microscope.
Oh, the satellite.
The satellite. At that time, they wanted to build the satellite. I don't know if they wanted to build it in the Dominican Republic, but they definitely wanted to build that big satellite. And my aunt told me that story. And about 2 years later, they started building the one in Puerto Rico. So it's an interesting thing, you know. Now
that's crazy.
Now, so you don't have any stories of voodoo or anything like that?
Not specifically about voodoo. I'd say other religions. Because my family is from Puerto Rico, so a lot of Puerto Ricans practice Santeria.
Yeah, so Santeria is big on.
So they're also
the Caribbean, like in Cuba. Cuba is huge Santeria. So is
and it's basically
Haiti.
a variation. You also have spells and curses. You have the saints that you pray to. So yeah, it's used for good and for bad.
It is a religion at the end of the day. They do believe in the higher power, and it's a scary one. Just the fact that they have zombies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's for me extremely scary. But if you guys know or witnessed yourself or heard of any cool stories of voodoo, Santeria, or whatever the case is, we would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah. I'm sure, I know there's a lot of interesting stories out there. I've heard a lot of the different rituals and everything that go into. I think when I was younger, my mom also, she was a Catholic, but she also believed in the healing properties or the healing that could be offered by santeras. And I do remember I was sick. I must have had a stomach virus, I think. I wasn't able to keep anything down, and she took me to one of these people, and they did a whole ceremony where they rubbed this oil all over my head, and they were kind of beating me with I don't know exactly. I don't remember what kind of plant it was. It could have been like a eucalyptus plant or something else. As part of their ritual for healing. So it's interesting. I know there's a lot of stories out there, so I definitely love to hear them.
Yeah, we would definitely love to hear them and then share them with the rest of the world. And if you don't want to share your story, but you want us to do a research on a famous story, just go right ahead and send us information, or just write it down in the comments, and we'll definitely do a research on it and do a video on it. And we want to thank you guys for being a part of this show. It really does mean a lot to us. Plus, if you guys would just go and click the like button, subscribe, and all those fun stuff, we would definitely appreciate it. And we'll be doing a lot of these little, videos just to give you guys some more of what you guys want, which is to get scared.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Catch you guys in the next one.